Greetings. Welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show. My special guest today is Kristina Newman-Scott, who is the Director of Culture for Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. Welcome to the Jamaica Diaspora Show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
And it is a pleasure to have you finally.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
Kristina, I just want to mention to the viewers that you oversee all aspects of the state's programs and services as it relates to art, culture, and historic preservation.
Yes, I do.
But first thing I want to get into is your background. I want to know, where you're from.
I am from Kingston, Jamaica.
And
born and raised.
Okay. And where did you obtain your education?
So I went to, for college, I went to Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts in Kingston. I went to St. Andrew High School for girls, so I'm an Andrews girl.
Okay.
I went to Hillel Prep, which is where I did my preparatory training. From soup to nuts, I'm a Jamaican girl. Unlike many of my dear friends and my own husband, I moved here. I was seasoned, cooked. I wasn't a baby.
All right. But now, your education was at Edna Manley.
Yes.
What was your degree?
I have a degree in painting, and I also studied installation art. But one would never think that with a degree in painting in an art college, that would lead to a senior position in state government in a place like Connecticut.
Where you are now,
right?
Especially. But now you had some previous experience in the media industry. And
I did.
So how did you go from art college to media?
Well, when I graduated art college, all of us were very nervous about kind of what's next. As you can imagine, you hear the story all the time. Parents don't want their children working in the arts because their fear is that they'll be broke for their entire lives. So they want them to, study subjects that they believe will lead to gainful employment.
Right.
So when I graduated art college, I was really very curious about what was happening in the arts in Jamaica. And I used my skills that I had honed at art college and applied them to a business. So I started a business, which I was doing consulting for design. So we were doing kind of faux finishes and kind of paint consulting for stores and businesses across the island and homes. But at that same time, I was very much a part of the arts ecology. So I had friends who worked in television and radio. I had friends who worked in film. I started working as a prop buyer for commercials, and then worked on a movie as a prop buyer and assistant set decorator, which was a BBC film called One Love that starred Kimani Mali and Idris Elba was actually in that film. And all of that led to being asked to come in and try out to do radio at Fame FM. So I did a stint where I had a show called E-Zone, which was kind of a quick entertainment lifestyle show at Fame FM, and that led to doing work with RETV when it just came out. So when RETV came out, I had a show called Last Night. Then I worked with Carlene, the dancehall queen, on a show called Our Voices, which was an in-studio show produced by CVM. And so, so it was kind of being in the scene.
Right, it's just who you know.
Absolutely, and I made sure that I was going to stick to the arts. I wasn't going to try and work in another industry. I wanted to really work in the arts.
Well, that's interesting. Now, did you have interest in anything other than the arts? As you said, your parents or our parents, they want us to have these professional jobs that we're going to get, a hefty salary. Did you have any interest in any of the business
There was a
professions?
moment that I thought that I would be working in business, accounting. I was studying accounting. And I quickly came to the realization that was not my happy place. So I always knew that I was interested in the arts. I just had never invested in that and what that meant. So I'm happy that I did, because the only reason I am where I am today is very much because I started as an artist.
Well, did you have any influences there?
At Edna Manley, or
to focus on the arts, or what led you in that direction?
It was really just you know, when I was in high school, I had a teacher, Mrs. Sutherland, who was the art teacher, and she always encouraged me. I always remember enjoying the experience in our class, and you know, when I got further and further away from art and more into business, I just always remember that feeling that I had. I also had great drama teachers. I remembered being in prep school and having Pierre Lemaire, you know, it was the place that I was most happy. And so my parents weren't happy at the beginning of this journey, but they definitely were happy at the end of the journey when I graduated and they saw what I could do with my art career. And along the way, I had many people that were influencers.
Okay. Well, you did talk about the various jobs that you had. Well, so this career after college was how many years before you eventually came to Hartford, Connecticut?
It was about 4 or 5 years, 5 years or so before.
Out of college? Out of
so I started my business actually the year before I graduated college, but I left Jamaica in 2005.
Okay.
And came to Hartford. Well, Windsor.
Okay, and so what brought you to Hartford? That's
my
the
husband.
question. Your husband brought you.
Yes, it's all his fault. Connecticut, I'm sorry, it's his fault that I'm here. His family had left the island early in his life. He moved. He was about 11 or 12 when he moved to Connecticut, and his family started the first. I think maybe it wasn't the first at that time, but it's definitely the oldest now in New England, a West Indian bakery called Scott's Jamaican Bakery.
Yes, we know Scott's.
You know Scott's.
Scott's
good.
Bakery, yes.
Yes, good, yes, so you know good food. So,
yes. Did he have a bakery in Jamaica also? Or
no, Gordon comes from, his parents were in academia. His father was the headmaster of Knox College.
Oh, that's okay.
And his mother worked in the administration. So they knew nothing about the bakery
Knox
business.
College is in Clarendon, is it?
It's in the middle of the island. It's in, is it Clarendon? You can't ask me those questions because I'm a city girl.
Right.
I'm a city girl. Okay. I'm like,
we'll skip that.
Clarendon, I don't know.
Okay. But that's what brought you here.
Yeah.
And let's get into
let's get into it.
What was your challenge
when I came here?
When you came?
Well, let me tell you, when I moved from Jamaica, obviously, I had a community of people. I had, we were on the scene. Gordon, when I met him in Jamaica, he was pursuing music, so life was very different. I was doing television, radio, and my art, and he was making music, and so the transition to an American life was not easy because, one, I didn't have a community. I had his family, and they're lovely, but it's a very different thing, not having your own sense.
You said he was here. He was here
way before. Yeah, when he moved to Jamaica in '97 to pursue music.
Okay.
So I met him while I was doing what I was doing.
But he had already came to Hartford.
Yeah, he was here. He went to college in Colorado. He came back, did his MBA at University of Hartford. Yeah, he just decided that he wanted to pursue his passion, and he moved back to Jamaica as an adult to give music a chance, and that's how I met him.
Okay.
And so when I moved with him in 2005, it didn't take me long to find my community, I will say, but the first few months were challenging because you really, for me especially in the arts, need to have that solid kind of something that you kind of call your own, a scene that you're rooted in. And
well, when you got here, what was the first job you landed?
Well, I got here in March 2005. I landed a job in July 2005, and my first job was as the visual arts coordinator for a place called Real Artways in Hartford. And I was there for almost 6 years. I became the director of visual arts fairly within a year. Okay. And I did over 80 exhibitions and over 200 publications that we produced for artists, emerging and established artists. So I really learned about the curatorial work and what it meant to be a curator, and so
Okay.
that's where I kind of honed those skills.
So did you have curator experience prior?
I did, but I really didn't think about it as a I didn't think about myself as a curator. I think that thinking back, a lot of the things that I was doing in Jamaica with the exhibitions that we organized, with the shows that we were doing, obviously were part of that process, but I wasn't really formally thinking about myself in that way. And so when I became a curator at Real Artways, it was much less about my work and about how I get to interpret artists' work and how I help them kind of see their work in space and how to translate it to a broader audience. And so I became a conduit for them to share their own work and their message with more people.
And that certainly is a significant advantage in the role that you're in now.
Absolutely. That skill of being able to tap into what it means to be a translator, but very much responsive to the people that you're serving, really prepared me for doing the work I did at the City of Hartford and doing the work I do now at the State of Connecticut.
Now, Real Artways, after Real Artways was the City of Hartford?
Nope, it was Boston.
Oh, Boston.
I got a job in Boston as the Director of Programs at Boston Center for the Arts.
Tell us about that.
Boston Center for the Arts is a wonderful organization that is very unique because not only are they a producer of arts and education, they have programs in visual, performing, literary, resident theater companies, public art, but they also lease their space, the rotunda, the cyclorama, and then they lease additional space that they own on this block from Boston Ballet to the Huntington Theater. So it's kind of this mashup model, so to speak, and they had Mills Gallery. So when I came on board, I was overseeing the programs in the gallery, within the cyclorama, the resident theater company program, all of the programs, which are around 20 or so within the arts, were kind of in my portfolio.
So you moved to Boston?
Nope, I commuted to Boston.
You commuted?
Yep,
Okay.
that was very challenging because I had a
Okay.
1-year-old.
Okay.
And so I commuted from Windsor, Connecticut to Boston. I did stay there twice a week, but as you can imagine,
That's
doing
true.
that for...
What is that, 2 hours or?
It's with traffic, it's 2 hours each way. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not easy.
So how long did you do that?
About a year and 2 months, and I knew that there was going to be a position created in the City of Hartford for the first, they were calling it the Mecca director, the Mecca position, marketing, events, and cultural affairs. And I had thought, wow, you know, my position in Boston, I had worked for a woman who was the director of cultural affairs for the City of Queens. And so she really helped me start to think about what arts means in community development, how you can kind of you know, help create pathways for communities to become more vibrant and to thrive once you kind of integrate the arts. And I never thought about that. And so I started thinking about it. And when the position was open, I applied, and I was the one to get it. And so that brought me back to Hartford.
And what year was that?
That was 2012.
Okay.
The early 2012.
And so tell me about that. I mean,
The Mecca position?
yeah. I mean,
You know, it's interesting working for a city, right? Working for a mayor, obviously, everything that you do has to
and
be
who
aligned.
was the mayor at the time?
The mayor was, oh my goodness, Segarra, Pedro Segarra.
Okay. Right.
So Mayor Segarra, and I worked for him and David Panagore, who was the chief operating officer at the time.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I was really kind of charged with helping to build a creative and cultural ecosystem, which already exists in Hartford. But how do we bring it together? How do we allocate our limited resources in a way that the ripple effects are felt and seen? A lot of people always think that, you know, oh, look at them giving the money to all the same big organizations. But we really focused on strategies that brought the community in. So I started the city's first Movies in the Park series, which started, I rotated it to all the parks. So every single Friday in the summer, you would have a movie that was free and open to the public every single Friday at a different park in Hartford, because the idea was that we'd get people coming out to see the beauty of Hartford parks. Most people don't even know we have so many parks. So something as simple as that, to creating programs that incentivize young people to write about why Hartford is wonderful. And we did a poetry and essay contest, or we'll do small grants that helped bring artists into schools or to do programs in community. So I did do larger programs, but I also focused at the same time on programs that would build the community up and help give them a vehicle to integrate the arts in their own way, in a way that made sense for them.
Now, from this role, you moved into the current role that you're in now.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do. I want to take a break right now.
Okay.
And when I come back from the break, then we want to talk more about what you're doing in the state of Connecticut.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back with my special guest, Kristina Newman-Scott. We'll be right back.
Cornerstone Jamaica is committed to bringing vision care to students to give them the chance to see better and learn better. In their recent initiative, 113 students in Rosetown, Kingston benefited.
Cornerstone Jamaica is a nonprofit organization dedicated to connecting other nonprofits within Jamaica that serve the people of Jamaica. So currently our program, our flagship program, our number one, our baby, is See Better, Learn Better. And that is a partnership between Mission of Sight, the Rotary Club of Negril, and ourselves, Cornerstone Jamaica. See Better, Learn Better is about bringing in really top-of-the-line, first-rate optometrists, opticians from around the United States to Jamaica to really deliver a top-flight service to the kids of Jamaica, so that indeed if they can see better, they'll be able to learn better. So it started actually from our founder, Gary Robinson, he's a frequent traveler, visitor of Jamaica. He noticed while he was in the West End on a vacation, he said, wow, these kids, they've got brilliant eyesight, looking at all the kids in the schools and, seeing kids walking, and he says, wow, Jamaicans have great eyesight. No, none of the kids wear glasses. And then one of his community partners actually nudged him and said, actually, that's not true at all. They probably just can't afford eye care. And then it opened up a conversation about eye care, and he leveraged his relationships with, Mission of Sight and also some other partners in Westmoreland to start the first See Better, Learn Better clinic. In the first clinic, well, it's really interesting. In the very first clinic, what we had was optics. It's a reader that we got introduced to. What it does is it's a little machine with a smiley face on it, and it allows volunteers, lay people, to do kind of the beginning screening for eye exam. Before you get to the eye exam part, a doctor has to do that. But for the screening, the beginning parts, to see if you need an eye exam, they use this machine. So we had 2 volunteers, Kate Tony and her husband, who are in Cornerstone, they're dear partners to us. They went to a school and they were wrangling kids, and they were just using this little machine with a smiley face on it to kind of get a snapshot of the kids' eyes to see whether or not, and the machine reads out and says, okay, you need an eye exam, further referral needed, and this kid's eyes are okay. So that was the very first program that we had. It was really, low tech. There's only like 2 people working. And then that's when we got involved with the Rotary Club of Negril, and they became kind of like the army of volunteers that helped us with the remaining clinics. And now what we're doing is we're expanding from just working with Mission of Sight and the Rotary Club of Negril to working with other organizations. So the founder of Cornerstone Jamaica had a really awesome meeting with the president of American Friends of Jamaica, and they both were trying to figure out, okay, well, where's the synergy here? We're both working in the nonprofit space in Jamaica. How is it that we can work together? And that's kind of where it all started.
The American Friends of Jamaica was set up some 36 years ago now. We fund projects in Jamaica in areas of healthcare, economic development, and of course education. We have several processes that we go through each year. We have a discretionary grant program where organizations such as the Rosetown Foundation will apply to us for a grant for a specific project. We also have a donor-directed program. We fund programs through our donors. Our donor says, I want to give Maxfield Park Children's Home some money, so we help them get that money to that particular project to help them get along in there. So if they were not successful with a discretionary grant, they can still get a grant through one of our individual donors or group donors.
Now we're working with AFJ. AFJ is a long-time grant giver, funder of the Rosetown Foundation. AFJ was very pivotal in showing us different organizations on the ground in Jamaica, different missions going on here. So what we did was we decided to collaborate. Rosetown had a need, they have an after-school program, and really the need in the population to get the eye care that we are privy to doing. We do that in Westmoreland all the time. So that's really how all of this started. Today we're in Rosetown. We're working with the Rosetown Foundation and American Friends of Jamaica. What we did about 6 weeks ago was we came down here with our optometrist from the University of Indiana, and we had a group, our optician from Seattle, Washington, come here, and we did eye exams on 113 kids. Now of that, about 44% of them, 50 kids, needed glasses. So what we're doing today is we're distributing and dispensing brand new glasses to these children. They're fitted, they're custom made just for them. The difference between Cornerstone and a lot of optic missions is that we use brand new glasses. We get the glasses, they're donated to us from providers of eye care and different lens companies. They give us all these brand new lenses. I mean, these kids are getting really good glasses. They're not secondhand glasses, and they're just for them. They pick them out themselves. We come with a sample arrangement of glasses, and it's really great to see the kids try on the glasses and they go, I don't know, that doesn't work for me. I like that one. What do you think? They ask their mom. It's really cute. So what we're here today to do is to finally give them their glasses. Once we dispense the glasses, a really important part of what we do is making sure that the care for the lenses and the glasses are, top notch. We have to enculturate them on how to take care of the glasses. So we explain care for the glasses. You rinse them with a little bit of water, clean them with a dry cloth, don't put your fingertips on there, don't scrape them with your fingernails. Make sure when they're not on your face, you put them in the case, that's a big key for them. And just explain to them what to expect. So on the onset of wearing glasses, they might be a little blurry, you might not be able to see as well at first, but over time, they'll adjust.
All the children who needed prescription glasses, have come to pick up their glasses, but we've also had a lot of other community members and siblings, and there's a lot of excitement. We're also getting a lot of inquiries from different communities saying, okay, what do we do? How can we get this program in our communities? So of course we want to look into that to see where we can make the best impact and get new programs going.
The reception from the community of Rosetown has been great. One thing that I'll say, a lot of people say, oh, you're going to Rosetown, watch out, be careful, watch yourself, and walk good, and you have to take care of yourself out there. And the thing is, we're good. The community here has been warm and receptive and awesome, and I mean, we've only been accepted with warm arms and a nice welcome. So it's been really good. It's been really good.
And we're back with my special guest, Kristina Newman-Scott, Director of Culture, Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development. Now, Kristina, it strikes me in a way that how is it that the Director of Culture for the state of Connecticut is in the Department of Economic and Community Development? Can you bring that connection between cultural arts and community economic development?
Yeah, and it wasn't always like that. The culture and tourism were their own commission once upon a time. When the current governor came into place, he transitioned arts and culture and tourism into economic and community development. And, you know, I think that was a smart thing to do because the arts and cultural sector are a huge economic contributor. But not only that, it's the area that makes our communities sing. It's the thing that connects us. It's what makes the town that you move to the town that you move to, because there's stuff there that feels special, that you feel like is an extension of you. But just in terms of numbers, the impact of arts and culture on the state of Connecticut is over $9 billion, which is more than the added value.
What do you mean by that, the impact?
So the added value of arts and cultural are industry, right? So broadcasting and publishing and media, obviously design is involved. Architecture is in there too, but visual arts, performing arts, all of the arts, you know, what we call that is the creative economy. So if you think about the creative economy portfolio, it involves folks like yourself, because this is a creative endeavor. And the impact of this work on the state, numbers, like from a value perspective, is over $9 million. And the NEA has said that every dollar that you invest in the arts in Connecticut, you get a $7 return. So think about something as simple as you're going to go see a play at Hartford Stage. And you're going to go out with your friend or your loved one or whoever you're going to go out with. A lot of times when people are doing things like that, they might buy an outfit, you know. You might go to dinner before you see the play. At dinner, you're going to tip the waiter. Do you leave that? You might notice that your car, the gas tank is empty. I'm going to stop and buy gas. You get gas, you're going to get to the theater. You're going to go to the concession stand at the theater, and you're going to buy a cookie or you're going to buy whatever you want. You might tip that person again, then you go inside. You watch the play. You leave the play. You might not want to go home. You might go across the street and grab some coffee. I mean, the ripple effects of just that one play has now gone into all these various pockets. And just think about what would happen to a place like downtown Hartford if Theatre Works, the Wadsworth, Hartford Stage, Bushnell were not there. We would see massive closures in no time. The restaurants would, many of them, would go immediately, because many of them thrive because of their proximity to arts and cultural spaces. And so I think it's something that people don't often think about. Economic
you explained
impact.
it so well, because I think it's something that a lot of people
They
don't
think
read
about it.
into.
No, they think of it as a nicety, but I want to tell you that when you are thinking about the most innovative cities, where whether it's young people or folks that are looking for a place to retire, those cities have prioritized arts and culture.
Right.
If you think about places where Amazon and Tesla and Google and Apple and all places like that want to go, they want to go to places that have a that are culturally vibrant and are thriving. And that's the kinds of cities that we are investing in. We are trying to create that kind of vibrancy across the state in the work that we do in DECD through the divisions that I oversee, as well as with, obviously, the traditional economic development work that we do through our business office and brownfields. But I got to tell you, I've been telling you, the magic happens in the arts and cultural sector.
Well, you know, so what you have just done is you have made it very clear the significance of art culture in the economic development of a community and of a state. And when we look at situations where we have these budget cuts, and so often we hear that,
Arts get cut first.
Yeah.
Arts education gets cut first.
Right.
When we know that,
So
I got to tell you, children who have arts education have higher graduation rates by far. They are going to be voters. They are going to be more responsible citizens. They lead happier and healthier lives. And it's just beyond my understanding and many people that I work with, that, you know, the thing that helps our children succeed in life is the thing that gets cut first. I mean, you think about children being exposed to music, they have a better ability to do math and science. So for us, it's all about STEAM education, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. My daughter is a STEM student, but it's because of her arts that has helped her really thrive
You know, I'm glad you're pointing these things out, because certainly it has always been the arts get cut when the
And the
budgets
data
are.
is there. The data is there to prove that we are a valuable sector. So, you know, we're going to keep trucking on and doing what we do.
Now, you administer a number of programs.
Yes.
How many programs actually?
Oh my gosh, I
can't-
don't know, too many. On
Too many,
the preservation side,
Okay.
there's 13 or more. On the art side, a lot. Or enough, as we'd say in Jamaica, enough programs.
Okay. Well, this is you have responsibility for art, culture, historic preservation. Now, this is another area that I
Yes.
would like for you to
Yes.
explain what that is.
So when I came in as director of culture for the state, the two divisions that I oversee are both federally funded. One is the Connecticut Office of the Arts. We receive federal funding from the National Endowment for the Arts, which is matched by the state. Then the State Historic Preservation Office receives funding from the National Park Service. And in our State Historic Preservation Office, we are charged with protecting historic sites, for investing in the historic built environment. So all of the historic buildings that we see, know, and love in Hartford and in towns across Connecticut, it is a priority for the State Historic Preservation Office to make sure that they're not jeopardized, especially if they're on our state or national register listing.
Okay.
So that's the work that we do, and we do that by investing money to keep them up to date. So we have historic restoration funds. We have state historic tax credits. So, for instance, a great example of that would be the old Sonesta Hotel, which is now apartments.
Okay.
They receive tax credits. The Colt building and all that's happening with that development receive tax
So
credits.
historic preservation is buildings.
It's
architecture.
building. Its focus is on the built environment
Okay.
and original historic material. However, what's also important to us is obviously the stories of the people who live in
culture.
them and
Okay.
what happened within those spaces and what made them relevant. Because buildings alone don't make themselves important.
Well, what about history in terms of migration?
No, that's not what we do. We're not
covers.
charged with doing that. That being said, we do oversee 4 state museums in my preservation office as well, and from that vantage point, through the work of our own historic museums, we are able to engage with academic institutions and really. So, for instance, the Prudence Crandall House. That's one of our state museums.
Okay.
Obviously, that was the first school for Negro girls, and we work very much with academics to talk about that story and how to make it relevant to today, to discussions that we're having today about Black Lives Matter. So that's where we can start to kind of engage more historians and kind of go deeper into that area.
Okay.
But the SHPO proper is very much about built environment.
Okay. Now, so what aspects of your current position do you find most challenging?
Well, I work in state government. Isn't that just challenging on its own? Driving to work. I'm just joking. No. I think to your earlier comment, this work is so important. It's some of the people don't readily understand it.
And I understand it now, whereas you made me understand, and I
were-
hope the viewers are
do
taking
too.
this in, because this is good.
I got to tell
Yeah.
you, if these divisions go away, things like, the old stationery building that was across from Dunkin' Donuts on Capitol would not be rehabilitated. We wouldn't have places like the Colt, historic, which is about to be a national park, right? That's it's challenging when the percentage of the budget that we get is 0.002, or it's very small. So you think about that and the investments that we make that have such a great ripple effect across the state. Imagine what we could do if we were adequately funded. So I think my challenge is, even though I have the data and I have the stories from all the great people, we're still climbing up this hill that we've been climbing ever since there was arts
To be
funding.
relevant, is that
It's
what?
we are relevant.
Well, I
It's
mean-
just getting through to the powers that be to truly understand why this matters, because I got to
Why?
tell you,
Okay.
people don't move to places just because garbage gets picked up on time on whatever day. They don't move to places just because of education systems. They want to move to places that make them happy. And everybody in some way knows somebody that either has a child or themselves that is engaging with the arts, whether it is at church, in the gospel music or the dancers, whether it is your child going to piano extra lessons, you yourself play guitar after work. All of that is important because it brings you joy. And so why do you want to cut the thing that brings joy to yourself and to your community?
But when you make the connection between economic development,
Yes.
that is, I think,
It's huge.
something that people do not recognize.
They don't, and it's
Yeah.
larger. Economic impact of arts and culture is greater than transportation, utilities, construction, and what else here? It's big. It's
Yes.
big, and manufacturing,
Is that
and manufacturing.
now we
And
have
this came from the
now we
Bureau.
have-
I didn't
we-
make these numbers up, I promise. It came from the BEA. The
Okay.
Bureau of Economic Analysis gave us these numbers. We did not create
You know,
these.
I'm an engineer. I used to work for United Technologies.
Well, you Google these numbers. I will
Wow.
email you the report.
Wow, one of the largest employers in the state. Okay.
Yes,
that
they
is-
are. But if you think about arts as its own kind of industry, in like if we were a company, we would be the largest because of the number of people employed and engaged in arts.
So what's your budget right now? What budget do you manage?
$5. No, I have different pockets of money, so it's not as
Overall.
easy. So so state funding is around shy of 1.5 million. Federal funding is around 800 or so thousand. That's for the arts. On top of that, we have a 1% for art program that brings money in through construction through the Department of Administrative Services. So that's another pocket. Then we have an endowment of 19 million, which we draw down around 800,000. So there are all these pockets. So if you add it all up in arts, there's several $1 million, but then in SHPO, we have state tax credit. The cap is like 35 point some million. So in all, if you put all the pockets together, which don't make sense together, right, and you can't access them all equally or easily, it's around $70 to $80 million worth of funding or appropriations for certain projects, including bond allocations. So it's not one easy bucket.
Okay, right. So now, who's your boss?
The Commissioner of Economic and Community Development, Catherine Smith.
Oh, okay.
I'm on her senior team.
Now, as a painter, artist, do you exhibit any of your work? At all?
No, not anymore. The last time I did an exhibit was in 2000, I don't know, maybe 2010. It was at Windsor Arts Center. I did an exhibit, but I haven't. I think about my work all the time. I just don't do it. I don't have time.
Well, let's see now. June is National Caribbean Heritage Month, Caribbean American Heritage Month. What does your office do in response to that?
We don't engage in the way, we don't go out and kind of get involved in things. You have to go through a grant process. And so for National Caribbean Heritage Month, we're not doing anything formally. However, if folks were to call the office and ask for us to be present, if they wanted to find out about grant opportunities, which are currently open, by the way, so nonprofit arts organizations, individual artists can now apply for grant funding.
That grant funding is open from when until when?
Oh, the deadline is coming up. And I'm sorry I can't remember. I have too many dates in my head. But if you go to the website cultureandtourism.org, so cultureandtourism.org, and click on arts, you'll see all of the funding opportunities right now. So if there's a nonprofit organization, like for instance, the West Indian Social Club and the West Indian Foundation receives money from the state that goes through my office. It's a line item, but it goes through our office, so they receive funding. But nonprofit organizations can absolutely apply, but it's competitive. So we have an external jury that looks at the proposals, weighs them based on our criteria, and then awards those funds. However, that doesn't mean, I've been talking a bit more about opening up opportunities where we can really try to find smaller amounts of money to see how we can help to sponsor. And by sponsor, I don't mean buy an ad, but it might be a smaller amount of money that will go towards an initiative that's aligned with our mission and vision. And so we're not quite there yet, but people can absolutely reach out to us. We are open to hearing from anybody that wants to find out how they can work more closely with the Connecticut Office of the Arts or the State Historic Preservation Office.
Okay. We're going to take another break.
All right.
Got to do a PSA. We have actually an event that is coming up, the Taste of the Caribbean.
I know, I love
in
it.
particular.
Well, of course, Scott's is always at the Taste of the Caribbean.
Yes, indeed. And so we want to give them some recognition.
I love them. Yeah,
Okay.
they're great. They do a fantastic job.
We'll be right back with more with Kristina on the Jamaica Diaspora Show.
Since 2011, Cornerstone Jamaica has lived through a number of notable changes.
Perhaps most important has been going from a mere group of people who loved Jamaica and wanted to give back
to a well-established 501c3 nonprofit organization.
We have built a tremendous team that continues to attract brilliant minds.
who we are grateful for as they've been selfless and committed to the goals we set.
We have come to agree that whatever the goal is, the focus will remain the same.
To bring people and resources together
to create sustainable programs that improve health and education in Jamaican communities.
But how did we get here? What's the story of Cornerstone Jamaica?
Let us now recognize our recent history
With a clear understanding of the present.
To advance to our future.
My name is Gary Robinson, and I'm the founder of Cornerstone Jamaica. I was first introduced to something Jamaican driving cross country to Wyoming with a friend of mine who was a Bob Marley fan, and the song was Pimper's Paradise.
Pimper's Paradise, that's all she was now.
That first trip in 1983, I stayed at a place called Rock House, and here I am 35 years later, still staying at the same place. My giving back to a place that had given so much to me was a direct result of a life-threatening diagnosis that my wife got, and I ended up praying for her survival and discovered later that my old friends in Jamaica were praying right alongside of me. And when she survived, I decided it's time to give back, and that's how it really all began.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jones very pleased to welcome you to Montego Bay, Jamaica local.
So Stefan, talk to me for a minute. What's up?
I'm good, Godfather. I'm just here taking it easy. Chilling, rolling in from the airport down here, the family, you know.
Yeah, it's nice to be with you again.
Yes, I.
Love this, love this, love this. Nice to be back in Jamaica, Sherry. Cornerstone, the first stone set in the construction of a foundation. Important, since all other stones will be set in reference to this stone.
About 9 o'clock we reach, we get a phone call, the place is on fire.
when we came here.
When we come back, we lose everything. We don't even see a pair of socks.
The laundry chute clothing project was such a big success that we had to end it. Why? Because as my first dear partner, Alexandra Ostro Beach, pointed out to me, it wasn't sustainable. And so we shifted gears and decided to do different projects that would take the fishing rod and put it in the hands of the fishermen instead of handing the people the fish. That begat the Little Bay Technology Room, and from there came See Better, Learn Better. Tribute must be paid to Mark and Kate Toney. They were the ones to really give our See Better, Learn Better program its soul. Hi, guys. Hi. There's a concept in Judaism called Tikkun Olam, and it means repairing a corner of the world. Jamaica became that corner of the world for me, and I could not be feeling better about it or feeling more fulfilled. And I do believe that with programs like ours, Jamaica's best days are yet to come.
And we're back with Kristina Newman-Scott. Kristina,
Yeah.
are there any new initiatives on the way?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
hear about
always
that.
new initiatives.
Okay.
I love a new initiative.
Okay.
We are working on, it's the second year actually. The first year we piloted a program which I created because when I moved here, I realized really quickly that I looked different than most people in the world that I worked in. And there were not a lot of people working in the arts of color in leadership positions. So when I got to the state, we piloted a program called the Artist Workforce Initiative last year, which placed 12 paid interns in arts and cultural organizations across the state. It was a competitive process and paid them $15 an hour over 2.5 months. And it was for high-level professional development. So for instance, if a young person is in college and they're we're studying arts administration, they really want to work for, they'll talk about kind of, maybe they'll say, I really want to be at the good speed. I'm interested in arts administration in a theater environment. Well, we would get a reference from their professor. They would write a letter of interest. We would also get the good speed to give a description of what the internship would be, and then we match the intern to their right organization. This year, we're placing 28 interns, including veterans and their families. And so we're placing around 5 veterans and or their family member in arts and cultural institutions. And that's important because, one, as America is changing, and in 2050 America, where we're not going to have an ethnic majority, right? And people of color are the emerging majority. We have to create pathways to have people that look like me and you and others, and and it's not just ethnicity. It's people from all backgrounds, all socioeconomic, LGBTQ, differently abled people, English as a second language, holding positions of leadership, and it's not okay to just have them in janitorial or security or front of house. And so on my watch, being the first immigrant and the first woman of color in my position, I'm absolutely committed to working with the commissioner, who's very excited about this program, on making those pathways. So that is a program that we're very proud of, and that my hope is that next year my goal is to place 100. Started with 12, committed to 28 this year, and next year I want to place 100, and then I want to place 1,000, and then I just want it to, because what's happening is the arts and cultural organizations are saying, wow, okay, wait, we didn't even know that these young people are around, and they don't all have to be young. There are people that are emerging professionals. There are people that have worked and are re-entering the workforce. So it's just important, because I don't want to hear anymore, I just don't know where to find them. I just don't know. It's just so hard for us to find people of color or people that don't speak English or we're out there.
Well, what does a person do? And this is particularly for artists in our community that have, say they were into the arts in school, in high school, they come out, they have all of these years of experience, they haven't pursued it, but they want to get back into the arts. How do they go about doing that?
Well, we also, outside of trying to enter into a program like the Artist Workforce Initiative, we do a lot of professional development. We do that through our conferences. We do webinars. We do professional development for artists and for organizations to help them understand how to do exactly what you're talking about. Actually, for musicians out there, on July 28th, we're hosting a music conference in partnership with CPBN, and we're having all of these amazing people that work, Jenny Boom Boom, folks that have worked with Jay-Z. We have artists that are signed to Diddy right now coming in, and we're talking about equity in the arts. We're talking about how musicians can market themselves and get in to the industry. So we always do those kinds of things, and so you just stay tuned.
When you think about people that have spent all their high school and maybe even college years, and then they go off into another profession, a business profession, but they still have that desire to continue to pursue the arts. This is, maybe you can give us some information that we can put on our screen.
There are a lot of resources out there, and even on our own website, when you go to cultureandtourism.org, you will find that there are toolkits for the business of the arts, which is the key. And the National Endowment for the Arts funded kind of business of the arts workshops across the nation. So there's so many resources, digital toolkits that you can read, online kind of programs that you can participate in that are free to better understand how to get back in there. But I will tell you that in my experience, doing is the best form of thinking and learning. So if you want to get in there, and then you'll start to get a better sense of what needs to happen, and at the same time look for these additional resources that you can read upon and learn upon and engage with people in the field that you find a mentor. You know, there's so many people out there that would be great mentors.
Give me that website again.
Cultureandtourism.org.
Cultureandtourism.org.
Yes.
Well, Kristina, I am so pleased to have had you here.
I'm glad to finally
and
be
finally,
with you.
It's been a long wait, but it's been well worth it.
Aw, thanks.
And I think I've learned a lot. I hope the viewers have appreciated the information that you've given us.
I hope so too.
And so thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, I'd like that.
There are, I'm sure, many opportunities that will be
Well, you know how to find me, Mark. You know how to find me.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the Jamaica Diaspora Show. We'll be back next week with more programming on Hartford Public Access Television.